Hello everyone, welcome to A Clear Perspective. I'm Serene. Sorry for being away for so long. I'm so happy to be back. 5 U.S. states held their primaries on Tuesday, and the Trump-backed candidates won a historic victory. In the most closely watched Arizona Republican primary, Trump-backed Kari Lake beats Pence-endorsed Robson in Arizona GOP governor primary. Former news anchor Kari Lake was declared the official winner of the Republican nomination for Arizona governor the night of August the 4th. Vote tallies show she won by 19,752 votes. Lake told reporters that, "We outvoted the fraud. We didn't listen to what the fake news had to say. The MAGA movement rose up and voted like their lives depended on it." Washington Post reported that Lake's victory was one of several for prominent election deniers in Arizona. If these Republicans win in November, they will be empowered to dramatically upend the election process in the key state in 2024 and beyond. Other Trump-backed candidates who prevailed in Tuesday's Arizona GOP primary were venture capitalist Blake Masters and the Secretary of State nominee Mark Finchem. Masters ran an ad saying, "I think Trump won," and Finchem, a state lawmaker, was outside the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. He had said he would decertify Arizona's 2020 election results if he had the power to do so. Media previously reported that Arizona's primary election will test whether the state's Republican voters approve of Trump's 2020 election claim. Now it has been verified. Republican voters in the Grand Canyon not only agree with Trump completely, and they have learned their lesson from 2020. Start monitoring the ballots as soon as they are issued. If there is an anomaly in the vote count, it will be exposed immediately. Next, let's talk about Taiwan Strait. Thursday afternoon, local time, China has fired 11 missiles over the Taiwan Strait, hitting targets in the waters that encircle the island of Taiwan after Pelosi's visit. 5 of the missiles landed in waters around Taiwan that are part of exclusive economic zone that Japan oversees and claims economic rights over. Japan's defense minister said that this is a grave issue that concerns our country's national security and the safety of the people. Japan has steadily taken a more assertive approach to national defense and security during the last 2 years, in large part due to China's threats to Taiwan. However, Chinese military drills have no effects on threatening Taiwanese people. On the contrary, the Taiwan stock market rose significantly in response to China's war drills. The TAIEX in Taipei rose a strong 2.3% on Friday. And the founder of the world's second largest contract microchip maker on Friday urged Taiwanese people to unite and see through the evil nature of the Chinese Communist Party. UMC founder Robert Chow further announced a plan to donate $100 million to Taiwan's Defense Department and boost its capabilities safeguarding freedom, democracy, and human rights. Chow said, "A normal civilized country should admire human rights, the rule of law, democracy, and freedom, but the CCP advocates totalitarianism, deceit, hatred, and violence. I just hate the CCP's lies and violence and hope to leave a piece of pure land and a blue sky in Taiwan for those who speak Chinese." Chow's recent attacks against Communist China sharply contrasted with his behavior 15 years ago. At that time, he was a strong supporter of People's Republic of China. He made a big investment in mainland China in spite of the Taiwanese government's investigation. Pelosi lived up to expectations by visiting Taiwan, becoming the first Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives to do so in 25 years. This stance towards the CCP has significant impact on not only her political career, but on U.S.-Taiwan relations and on reshaping U.S. policy. Since the end of World War II in 1945, U.S. policy towards China has gone through several major mistakes and misjudgments. After Japan's surrender in 1945, Truman sent his special envoy Marshall to China to force the Kuomintang to form a democratic coalition government with the Chinese Communist Party. When the fighting against the communists was at a critical moment, Marshall was fooled by the lies of the communists and repeatedly obstructed the efforts to fight against the communist troops and forced Chiang Kai-shek to negotiate with the communists, later even cutting off the arms supply to the Nationalist Army. This led to the failure of Chiang Kai-shek. General MacArthur once lamented that the United States had made a rare mistake in history by breaking its promise not to support Chiang Kai-shek's army, and that the United States' 100 years of operation in Asia had been ruined. Not supporting the pro-Western Republican government, the United States lost China, allowing the Chinese Communist Party to occupy the mainland China. The defeated Chiang Kai-shek fled to Taiwan. Only a year later, the Korean War started. The U.S. troop was forced to fight against the Chinese army directly, paying a heavy price that could have been avoided. In the 20 years after the outbreak of the Korean War, the U.S. had changed course and strengthened its alliance with the ROC government in Taiwan. At that time, U.S.-China relations were uniformly hostile. Kennedy administration officials concluded that China was more militant and more dangerous than the Soviet Union. The former Secretary of State, John Foster Dulles, who once refused to shake hands with Zhou Enlai, said, "The CCP does not belong to a civilized society, and developing relations with it is tantamount to enhancing their ability to harm us." This shows that the United States top officials had a clear perception of the Chinese Communist Party at that time. But this tough attitude was abandoned by Nixon in 1972, when the CCP was facing both internal and external difficulties. Nixon said that there was no reason to leave China angry and isolated. However, Nixon did not understand the key point. It was not that the international community did not embrace the CCP, but that the CCP is an enemy of the civilized world. And because of this, the CCP was isolated and blocked by the civilized world. After Nixon, America's major allies in Asia and Europe followed suit in establishing diplomatic relations with the CCP. This year marks the 50th year of Nixon's historic visit to China. During Nixon's time, the CCP continued to export communist revolution to the world. One of the best examples was to train the Vietnamese Communist Party during the Vietnam War and even directly participating in the Vietnam War. Under such circumstances, Nixon still insisted on making good relations with the CCP and made a series of major concessions, which was in fact a betrayal of American values and national interests, and signaled the beginning of the degeneration of American values. In the following 50 years, the United States sank deeper and deeper, disregarding its conscience and morality to fight against the CCP, and step by step turned John Foster Dulles' words into reality. raising the CCP to a level sufficient to harm us. Finally, the U.S. policy toward the CCP began to turn and came to a climax with this Pelosi visit to Taiwan. Pelosi's successful visit to Taiwan means that the U.S. is redefining its foreign policy toward the CCP and is showing the world this new U.S. policy. Pelosi said, "We cannot stand by as the Chinese Communist Party proceeds to threaten Taiwan and democracy itself. Indeed, we take this trip at a time when the world faces a choice between autocracy and democracy. It is essential that America and our allies make clear that we never give in to autocrats." The U.S.-Taiwan relationship used to revolve around the issue of sovereignty, but now it has become a battle between autocracy and democracy. This is an important shift. Following Pelosi's decision to visit Taiwan, the U.S. government's attitude has adjusted accordingly. The Wall Street Journal published an article titled, "Nancy Pelosi's travel schedule isn't China's business," saying that Pelosi's visit to Taiwan was the right move. The article also calls for the United States to be more aggressive in strengthening Taiwan's defenses and accelerating the delivery of arms sales to Taiwan. On Monday, The Guardian reported that Britain's House of Commons Foreign Affairs Committee plans to visit Taiwan in November or December of this year. At the same time, the German foreign minister said at the NPT conference in New York that Germany would provide support if Taiwan was invaded. The butterfly effect has already begun to spread. Taiwan has always been seen as a red line by the Chinese Communist Party, and the United States has brazenly stepped on it again and again. And the world has seen it. Some say this is the ultimate test for the CCP, just to see how much it can tolerate. In the end, it turns out that the CCP can endure anything, as long as it continues tightening its control over 1.4 billion Chinese people. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time.